This is inspired by someone who DM'd me and they said Tim Black. He's like, we don't even know what caused his death yet. And people are blaming this strapping hero, this Marine. Oh my God. You mean to tell me that people are talking on Facebook about a story and they don't even know that a cause of death has already been declared? We don't have the same information. And you know what, maybe I'm a little guilty of this too. I'm just assuming that people are watching the Tim Black show or watching the Black Table and they're getting informed. I'm not thinking about the news sources that they're gathering or consuming that are leaving certain things out. So let's all kind of be on the same page, at least as best as I can do it with us. I know I can't reach the whole world and tell everyone the same stuff. And so what happens is, since people don't have the same information, they make very knuckle-headed, bull-headed comments that seem very insensitive. They seem very callous. They seem racist because in the mind of a black person who sees a bunch of white people discounting the life of a black person devoid of facts, it becomes very disconcerting. And you want to say it's racism because racism is sort of like an infection of the mind. But if it's not that, then it's like a deliberate, malicious intention on behalf of these people. So I don't know what's worse, if people are just racist or they're malicious. But ever so often there are people that remind you that it's neither of those, it's ignorance, it's lack of understanding, it's a lack of information, it's being caught up in the media blackout on information that matters. So just to bring you up to speed with the same information that I have, who have done 20 videos, not 20, I've done a lot of content on this. On May 1st, Jordan Neely was killed. He was having an episode on a subway train in East Manhattan. From behind him, a person he was not talking to necessarily, individually, as he was ranting about killing himself, about his life being unfit to live, about being hungry and poor and all these things. A man grabbed him from behind by the neck in what I've been informed is a carotid artery hold. Somebody keeps telling me, Tim, stop saying chokehold. It's a carotid artery hold. See, a chokehold cuts off oxygen. A carotid artery hold cuts off blood circulation to the brain. Let's stick our foot in the ground right now and just talk about that for a second. The hold that was applied makes one unconscious. The intentions of the hold is to deem the person immobilized or unconscious. That's the purpose of the hold. Police are not allowed to use it in California. I don't know if they're allowed to use it in New York. In New York, I'm not sure. But it's so that cops can, for a moment, knock you out so they can put handcuffs on you so they don't have to shoot your ass. That was sort of like the way it's projected as the usefulness of this hold. This hold is done momentarily to incapacitate you so that you can be cuffed. That's the purpose of the hold. As a civilian, I don't know why a civilian feels it necessary to incapacitate a person with no weapons, talking shit. If that's the case, you would incapacitate every corporate media asshole on TV, because they are talking shit every day. Well, we know you won't do that. You ain't gonna go up and apply a carotid hold on Don Lemon or Rachel Maddow or Tucker Bolson or Sean Hannity. No, you'd never do that. But this 95-pound guy in the subway, of course we'll do that to him. Because we're scared of him. He's scary. Because he's saying shit. Once again. So back to what happened. So you're in the subway. It's this guy, crazy guy, obviously deranged guy. He stinks. He's obviously homeless, babbling. But he hasn't touched anyone. He hasn't pulled out a knife, a switchblade, a flamethrower, a grenade, nothing. Daniel Penny puts his arm around his neck, starts to choke him. Two other guys, as they wrestle, Penny quickly brings Jordan to the ground. The two guys don't step in yet because Penny's got him. But of course, since you're cutting off supply to his brain, he's struggling because people don't like to be choked out. So that's when two other good Samaritans come in and grab his arms and further help subdue Jordan Neely. During the course of this, Jordan Neely loses consciousness to the point where one of the people that was helping Daniel Penny subdue Jordan says, hey man, he's not moving. He's limp. Maybe you should stop. He just defecated on himself. Now, when you are choking someone out and they defecate on themselves and urinate on themselves, it's kind of a reason. It's not because they're having a good time. It could be that they're close to death or already expired. We're talking about oxygen to the brain. Could take only minutes. The point is this, guys. The point is this. When they come to examine, they try, I've seen images. I've seen video where people show, but people think it's hidden, where at some point, Daniel Penny stops choking him and rolls him over. Now, he rolls Neely over, but Neely's not responsive. He's not getting up trying to run because he's fucking unconscious. You did not revive him just because you let him go and pushed him on his side. If he's already gone, if he's unconscious, that's not going to make him conscious. That's not going to restore the blood flow, the brain activity. Do you understand? Just because you roll a corpse doesn't mean you saved them and brought them back to life. When the paramedics arrived, I've seen them giving him chest compressions in the subway. It's on the internet. You can see that Jordan Neely is getting chest compressions from a paramedic. You know what paramedics don't do? They don't apply chest compressions to people that are breathing on their own.
That is correct.
It's a shame that I gotta say it like this because people have been watching Fox and Newsmax and that asshole Chris Cuomo and relying on people on Twitter who want to lie to you. Dude, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I don't give a shit about which party's doing what. They've all been screwing me since eternity. They switch places but continue to screw us over. Nor am I running for office. And most of you, none of you are contributing to this show. And this live stream you're seeing on Facebook, I won't make a cent off of it. I've been a journalist since I was in my 20s. Then I went and did other stuff on computers because I couldn't pay the bills. But I'm back. Been back for a decade. That's why I'm telling you this. That's why I provide information on these types of stories. Once again, they applied chest compressions to Jordan Neely, not because they wanted to feel what his chest felt like, because they were filling him up in the train station, but because he wasn't breathing. They took him to the hospital where they confirmed that he was deceased. They kept trying. He didn't have a pulse. He was not breathing on his own in the subway. Just because you see a twitch of an arm doesn't mean he's alive, Johnson. Doesn't mean there's brain activity. So anyway, the point, after this, they take him to the hospital. They officially announce he is deceased. This is May 1st. By May 3rd, they have a medical examiner issues a statement, a declaration, an assessment that the cause of death was via chokehold, neck compression via chokehold, and deemed it a homicide. A homicide means it wasn't a suicide. A homicide means it wasn't an overdose. That's called an accident. Most people don't OD on purpose or it's a suicide. Get it? A homicide means you died of unnatural causes at the hands of someone else or some other event. Get it? That's what a homicide is. Now, whether that was malicious or whatever it is, fine. Now, this is why people were protesting. You have a person that's dead in the subway. And we're going to get to all the blame and all the other shit. I got you. We got a person from Long Island or wherever he's from who's traveled the world. His name is Daniel Penny. At the time, no one even knew this guy's name, Johnson. He went down, he got questioned, and then he left. He didn't get charged. He didn't have to do shit. They just let this guy go. It took almost 2 weeks for them to charge him with jaywalking. I don't know where you come from or where you go to, but typically that's something you get charged with right away. Particularly when it's on tape. Once again, I've said this a million times, but I guess, people don't. Here goes a million and one. If Jordan Neely would have been in the act of hurting Daniel Penny or anybody on that train, if he would have been trying to set a fire, if he would have been touching someone, hitting someone, if he'd have pulled out a gun or a knife, I would have understood. I'd have been like, get that dude. Hero. But it's not, I'm a grown-ass man. It is not hero activity to sneak up behind a little homeless person and choke them out, and then they die, and you go, hey, what I know where, hey, something happened. So 1 minute you are this badass Marine showing how your prowess and your ability to do hand-to-hand combat. And the next minute you're a babbling idiot talking about you don't know what happened, you didn't mean nothing, I'm not a white supremacist. I'm a good guy. I'm just trying to figure out what's the best way to chronologically tell the story. So that's it. That's what you need to know. That's why people are upset. Now, there are people that say, oh man, they're talking about things in Jordan Neely's past. Mm-hmm. I'm not here to address that, but I will tell you this. A lot of what you guys are saying, I looked it up, overblown like fuck. Which I'm not surprised. He's got 41 charges. 38 of them are jumping fucking turnstiles. Poor people, homeless people that live in the subway tend not to pay a fare, dumbass. That's the bulk of what you're talking about.
I didn't know
the
that.
other stuff, yes, there was a trial pending for an assault where he punched an old woman, allegedly. But we'll never know because he got killed. And Daniel Penny killed him. He kidnapped a child. No, he wasn't charged with kidnapping. I looked it up. Why do you lie? It's not the charge. It's like hanging out. He was seen walking with a 7-year-old. No signs of anything. There's nowhere to take him. He's homeless. The person's like, what you doing with my kid? That's it. He got 4 months. Nothing sexual happened. He didn't demand a ransom. He didn't use a gun or a knife. He's mentally disturbed. He probably was trying to make friends. Who knows? We'll never know. Why? Because he's dead. Because Daniel Penny killed him. Now.
Wow.
Can I take a beat for a second?
Absolutely.
I want to get to the part. Now, I want to get to the really good part. Let's get to the really good part. There are people that say Tim Black. Mrs. Black just saying Tim Black. What's yeah, get my hat on for this one. They're saying Tim Black, man. Put your black hat on for this one, buddy. Someone made a very passionate post on my Facebook. They said, Tim Black, man. Well, they weren't talking to me. They were talking to my people because they like doing that for some reason. They said, hey, in response to my, you're not a hero if you choke someone out who's half your size and you kill him. That's not what heroes do. Heroes run in and save people who are in distress. Just because you're afraid of someone because they look scared of you doesn't mean that you were in danger. If you're drowning and someone jumps in the water is the threat. You are dying. They jump in and save you. That's a hero. Not a guy who sees another guy talking loudly. That could have been your husband. You could have been in an argument with your husband. You do realize this, right? You do get it. But see, the thing that I have a problem with is many of you never put yourselves in the situation. Part of the problem is you never identify with black victims. There's never no relation to you. You can never wrap your head around ever it being any one of you. And that's very telling. It can never be you or someone that you love or someone that's a part of your family that you see. You never see the connection. You never connect with them as human beings. There's a reason for that. There's a reason. But given what Daniel Penny did, he could have did that to your husband. You could get into an argument with your husband. He gets loud, you get loud, he grabs your husband, chokes him out, your husband dies. I bet your decision or the way you feel about it be a little bit different. Say, I was afraid he was gonna hurt her. He hadn't touched her. He hadn't pulled out a weapon. Why are you putting your, people die for that every day. Jumping in the middle of spouses. But I digress. Back to my friend who was eloquently trying to make this something else. And I notice this a lot with my Republican friends, man. My conservative friends who cannot for the life of them ever admit we got problems in America that have to do with race. They can never admit when there's a black victim. It's always got to be something else. They will put themselves in twister-like configurations. They would do a figure eight with one roller skate to be able to put themselves in a position to now have to say or admit, hey, maybe it was because of blackness or fear of black, or they can't get there. This person went on to say that maybe it was the U.S. government's fault. It's the government's fault. It's the government's fault because Jordan Neely should have been housed. He should have got mental treatment, psychiatric help. He's been on the streets for years. In fact, he was in the top 50 of New York residents who needed help. They got a list of people. He was on the list of people in dire straits. Jordan Neely. Then he pointed out that the really Jordan Neely and Daniel Penny are victims, both victims, and both of them, it's neither one of their faults. They're both a victim of the state. And now the state and the government is using this story to drive a wedge between us loving, caring Americans that get along so well. Bruh. You can't just say it, can you? Are you really trying to say that in America? Homelessness, mental health, that homelessness and mental health are issues that should be addressed? Or are you saying there should be no homeless or mental health people or people in distress on subways? I think you're saying there should be no mental health people or people in distress on subways because as a member of the Republican Party, you don't give a shit about mental health for people. You don't give a shit about homeless because if you did, you know what you wouldn't do? Every time there's a budget, Republicans are voting against mental health resources. They're voting against helping take care of the homeless. And when you call them, you call the left bleeding heart liberals, bleeding heart lefties, extreme radical left because they want to house people, put them indoors, put them in programs. You laugh at people who try to help people like Jordan. You mock them endlessly. You tell them their illness is the fault of their own and they just pull themselves up by their bootstraps. Nor will you recognize the culpability that both parties playing this. No, and the biggest thing you will never admit is that there's a reason why, I don't know, Black people are 4 times more likely to be unhomeless or be homeless than white folks across this country. That's a nationwide figure. 4 times more likely than non-Hispanic whites to be homeless in the United States. That's the average. But for New York, 58% of homeless people in New York are black. Only 7% are white. So when I make the statement, hey, I don't think Jordan Neely, if he was white, this would have happened. I can't say it definitively, but I can be kind of sure. Be hard to find many Jordan Neelys in New York who are white. There's a reason for that. It's called discrimination. I got a laundry list of issues that have impacted Black Americans in this country since forever. Redlining, Jim Crow, segregation. We all know the greatest hits, lynching, and convict leasing, mass incarceration. We got the greatest hits. Don't forget slavery. All of which you will discount and say, we're playing victim, though the only people that ever got reparations in America are white slave owners who lost their slaves. Sir, if you can't wrap your head around the fact that there's a reason why Black folks are 58% of the homeless population in New York? If you can't wrap your head around that, if you can't even admit it, I mean, damn it, dog, when it's 8 times more likely, you can't just say, oops. I don't know what happened. 8 times more likely, dog. If you're 8 times more likely not to put the toilet seat down for wifey, that's a problem. If you're 8 times more likely not to flush, if you're 8 times more likely not to say thank you and please, like, come on, dog. These are defects. These are intentions. Things I don't believe in America, one of the most powerful, if not still the most powerful country in the world, that things like this are done in accident. See, the reason why there's so many homeless in New York is because it's mostly black people. So New York decided, just like most of the rest of the country, who gives a shit about it? Because it's black people. And they're willing to sacrifice the small percentage of white people that are also impacted. Let me repeat that. The reason why there's homelessness and that you got to sit and listen to rantings of a homeless, mentally impaired person is because America does not care about black people. And the last thing they want to do, white people, white America, is spend money helping black people. This is a problem in America. So you hold black people back from building wealth in America. It was illegal for us to own shit. Property can't own shit. Okay? A chair doesn't own a bookcase. White people never had to fight for civil rights because you were deemed human to begin with. White America is still very hostile to black folks, by and large. And as long as Republicans can win elections appeasing white racists, they will continue to do so. By and large, the Republican Party is the white party, and the white party does not want their money spent helping niggas. Do you get it now? Like, we already know this, right? Or are we delusional? See, I don't have a problem with you lying to yourself. You can do that all day. But when you come to my page and you lie to my people, when you obfuscate, or if you by extension lie to your people in front of my people in order to make it seem like you're being valid, no, won't work. Folks, the reason why you don't have a lot of good shit in America is because the racists in America, and you may or may not be one of them, they don't want black people to get it. Folks, you'd have health care. But white America, the majority of white Americans do not want to spend their money helping black people stay alive. And they're willing to let you die not to pay for it because they figure, hey, I got money. So why am I going to spend it on welfare queens? These are code words for blacks. I've been here a long time. I don't have time to play games with you, nor do I feel the need to lie to keep people around. You be offended, you leave. It's okay. But if you're going to be here, you're going to get some fucking truth. You can fact check everything I'm saying. We own 2% of the wealth in this country. Tucker and Bill, before it was Tucker, it was Bill O'Reilly. Before it was Bill O'Reilly, it was Ed Begley Jr. and some other asshole. With Rush Limbaugh getting an assist. They always try to say it's black people and their culture's so bad. I tell you that culture is derived from your situation. Your day-to-day life dictates your culture, impacts your culture. The culture of the Native Americans, it may be rooted in cooking with maize or corn because that's what was in the environment. There's a reason why black people were put in tenements, putting housing, public housing in dilapidated areas with no investment from those cities, though we purchased goods, paid taxes like everybody else, and the whites ran off to the suburbs and left us there where our schools went to shit, where we were over-policed like hell, because at the end of the day, it's still the same stuff. This is a lot of conversation. This is a lot of facts. It's a lot of information to wrap your head around. But at the end of the day, you can't just say it's the government, because the government is a reflection of the people as well. If the majority of white America gave a shit about homeless people, it will require for the majority of homeless people to be white. Because then they could connect to them. Then they would see themselves in them. At least some of them would. This is not to indict every white person walking the earth. Of course not. Nor is it to even indict every white person in New York. Of course not. But we got to be able to call a thing a thing. You don't get 58% black homeless rate in New York on accident. And all the swagger that Eric Adams say he has, he wouldn't get away with that shit if that 58% was a bunch of white people named Amanda and Brad. Because somebody would want somebody to help Amanda and Brad out. And my example of that is the disparity between how the crack era was looked at with crack addiction and fentanyl addiction. One was send those suckers to jail and lock them up as long as possible. They're a threat to society. And the other was, oh man, what happened? We need to do something. This is a crisis.
Right.
One was the war on drugs. The other is, we need to do some crisis help. How much money can we allocate? People start running on how much money they could give to help fight it. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, they were running on how much time can we give? How much harder can we sentence the people that use cocaine or crack? If you got any history knowledge, you'll know. You can fact check that as well. But that's exactly where we are now. It's the same story. Fentanyl and crack are both addictive and killers. The difference is who uses them.
Right.
That's the difference. You can say we got better as a species. We didn't get better. You can say we got more caring and kind. Now you hate that shit. That's woke shit. That ain't what happened. Didn't get more kind. White people started doing it. And once white people do it, then it's looked at differently. So anyway, this story is not going away, and I'm not going to stop covering it. But what I will stop doing is I will stop going back and forth with you in my comment section. I'm just going to stop blocking white people who got a problem with me saying my truth to my audience on the Tim Black page. Look, the page is open to anybody. But if you come to my page just to say a bunch of reckless, insulting shit to black people, I'm just going to have to kick you out. And you can thank a couple of your cohorts for that, because they don't know what roasting is. Hey, if I say you stink and I've never smelt you, it's funny, but it's not really a personal attack. It's not really it's not a venomous thing. It's called being a part of black culture, where we make fun, we roast, and we make jokes. I don't really mean that I don't know you. How could I really insult you if I don't know you? But some of you come through and insult on purpose, and then you act like victims. I was treated horribly. Ben Shapiro is always hiring. Candace Owens is just a click away. What's that dumb fucking sheriff with the big hat? He's right over there somewhere. What about that little varmint that used to do the tap dancing for Trump? The unfunny non-comedian, whatever his name was. He's got a show. Go there. Go where you want it with this bullshit. But here, if you don't have a fact or something to hang your hat on, and you jump in my comment section going, yeah, he's a hero, and black people need to, and I'm just gonna block you. And I'm sorry to waste further time on this, Mrs. Black, because it's really not that important.
Yeah, it needs to be said.
Only because they're getting
crazy.
They're thin-skinned.
Yeah.
For people that are so irritating to others, you surely have thin skin. Really thin, like paper-like.
Wet
Is that
paper.
why we had to work the fields for you? You're thin-skinned. You can say whatever you want, in a room full of black people, online that is, because if you ride a train with a black person who's mentally disturbed, who's standing over there yelling shit, all of a sudden you go wee-wee on self. You don't know what, oh God, you are a New Yorker. You're a fucking New Yorker. Oh, which reminds me, one last thing about, stop talking to me about Daniel Penny. He's a BI. He was recently in an interview. This son of a bitch said he had to jump up and do something because he had never before witnessed something like this. Jordan Neely ranting on the train. The Marine, the sergeant. See, this is what some white folks do, in my experience. When their shit looks like it's not going to work, all of a sudden they become the victim. Now it's no longer the strapping Marine in excellent physical condition, trained, combat trained, did tours of duty, got a medal for some shit, I don't know what it was, works against the war on terror. That same guy is now saying he witnessed something on the train he never witnessed before. He didn't know what to do. He's been in combat situations, and he's afraid, like I said, of a 95-pound guy with no weapons. This ain't Fallujah, motherfucker. It's a subway train. Kids take it without their parents. You bitch. I'm through with dude. I'm fucking through with him. Who does that? A lying, conniving guy who's about to go to jail. And I'm going to close on this, and I know I said I was going to close before. I'm going to close on this. White America, no, black America. Blacks, be prepared. Mr. Daniel Penny's going to go to jail, and a lot of racist white people will be very upset. And some of those racist white people live near you. Act accordingly. Be careful. Because they love saying we take it seriously or personally, only when one of them kills us. You know when they take it seriously? When one of them who killed us actually has to pay for it. Now I'm gonna let Mrs. Black change the topic.
I just have to say a few more things. Just a few more things. Number one, in your notes here, you have that he was released last Friday on $100,000 bail. With that much money in that fund, I'm not even going to say the name of the fund, wouldn't he be considered a flight risk? Number one, go ahead.
He had to surrender his passport, so he can't leave the country.
He can't leave. Okay, check that off. All right. He's not a hero. Daniel Penny is a domestic terrorist. Let's just go ahead and label what that is. He's a domestic terrorist from the likes of the KKK. That's how I look at him. You mentioned the charges. I've seen repeatedly, he's got 44 charges. He did this. He did that. I never knew until you just outlined what they were exactly. You know, folks will say things repeatedly, just to make it sound true. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, he did, but they never never outline what each of those charges was. To jump a turnstile?
Yeah. And I got that from a right wing, I think it was the National Review or the New York Post. These are right-wing organizations.
A New York City police spokesperson told Newsweek that Neely's record has 42 prior arrests, dating between 2013 and 2021. They include 4 for alleged assault, while others involved accusations of transit fraud and criminal trespass, such as jumping the subway turnstile to avoid paying a fare. At the time of his death, Neely had 1 active warrant for an alleged assault in connection with a 2021 incident. Many of Neely's arrests were for alleged violations of local law, the spokesperson said, and involved lower-level offenses such as having an open container of alcohol in public. To those peddling fake news, do better. This is Anthony Irvin for Tim Black's The Black Table.
But when you pull back the wrapper, you start looking at what the counts were.
Yes.
Like 4 of them were assault. 1 is pending. There was a warrant for his arrest because he missed a court date for that. Mm-hmm. So he never went to court. He never finished the actual judicial process on that particular charge, which is the most dangerous charge.
And I guess, what?
He's been living on the streets for 10 years. 10 years. And he has charges from vagrant, being in the street, trespassing on the subway, jumping turnstiles.
And that just
like
justifies him being killed.
Nah, none of it does.
Exactly.
None of it does.
Exactly.
But yeah, they just stop. They give you, it's accurate, the number, that they want your imagination to run wild. And what he's done.
Exactly.
Exactly. He did this, he did that. He's such a menace to society.
So he deserved what he got.
He tried to kill everybody.
Right.
He swallowed a bomb and he was about to explode himself on the F train.
All right, they don't want this smoke. On to the next, what we got here.
The Black Table